I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease. One of my most precious possessions is that same photograph given to Father by Lahari Mahashaya himself. It carries a holy vibration. The picture had a miraculous origin. I heard the story from Father's brother disciple Kali Kumar Roy. It appears that the master had an aversion to being photographed. Over his protest, a picture was once taken of him and a group of devotees, including Kali Kumar Roy. I was an amazed photograph who discovered that the plate, which had clear images of all the disciples, revealed nothing more than a blank space in the center where he had reasonably expected to find the outlines of Lahari Mahashaya. The phenomena was widely discussed. A student who was an expert photographer, Gangadhar Babu, boasted that the vegetative figure would not escape him. The next morning, as the Guru sat in lotus posture on a wooden bench with the screen behind him, Gangadhar Babu arrived with his equipment. He greedily exposed 12 plates. On each one, he soon found the imprints of the wooden bench and screen, but once again the master form was missing. With tears and shattered pride, Gangadhar Babu sought out his guru. It was many hours before Lahari Mahashaya broke his silence with a pregnant command, I am spirit. Can your camera reflect the omnipresent invisible? I see it cannot. But, holy sir, I lovingly desire a picture of your bodily temple. My vision has been narrow until today. I did not realize that in you the spirit fully dwells. Come then, tomorrow morning. I will pose for you. Again, the photographer focused his camera. This time, the sacred figure, not clogged with mysterious imperceptibility, was sharp on the plate. The master never posed for another picture, at least I have seen none. The photographer is reproduced in this book. Lahari Mahashaya's fair features of the universal caste hardly suggest to what race he belonged. The joy of God communion is slightly revealed in his enigmatic smile, his eyes half open to denote a nominal interest in the outer world are also half closed, indicating his absorption in inner bliss. Oblivious of the poor lures of the earth, he was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of the seekers who approached for his bounty. Shortly after my healing through the potency of the Guru's picture, I had an influential spiritual vision. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into the deep reverie. What is behind the darkness of the closed eyes? These probing thoughts came powerfully into my mind. An immense flash of light at once manifested to my inner gaze divine shapes of the saints sitting in meditation posture in mountain caves, formed like miniature cinema picture on the large screen of radiance within my forehead. Who are you? I spoke aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis. The celestial response is difficult to describe. My heart was thrilled. Ah, I longed to go to the Himalayas and become like you. The vision vanished, but the silvery beams expanded in ever widening circles to infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I am Ishwar, I am light. The voice was a murmuring clouds. I want to be one with thee. Out of the slow dwindling of my divine ecstasy, I salvaged a permanent legacy of inspiration to seek God. He is eternal, ever new joy. This memory persisted long after the day of rapture. Another early recollection is outstanding, and literally so, for I bear the scar to this day. My elder sister Uma and I were seated in the early morning under a neem tree in our Gorakhpur compound. She was helping me in my study of a Bengali primer what time I could spare my gaze from the nearby parrots eating ripe margros of fruit. Uma complained of a boil on her leg and fetched a jar of ointment. I smeared a bit of slave on my forearm. Why do you use medicine on the healthy arm? Well, sis, I feel I'm going to have a boil tomorrow. I'm testing your ointment on the spot where the boil will appear. You little liar, sis. Don't call me liar until you see what happens in the morning. Indignation filled me. Uma, unimpressed, thrice repeated her taunt. An adamant resolution sounded in my voice as I made slow reply. By the power of will in me, I say that tomorrow I shall have a fairly large boil in this exact place on my arm, and your boil shall swell to twice its present size. Morning found me with a stalwart boil on the indicated spot. The dimensions of the Uma's boil had doubled. With a shriek, my sister rushed to mother. Mukunda has become a necromancer. Gravely, mother instructed me never to use the power of words for doing harm. I have always remembered her counsel and followed it. My boil was surgically treated. A noticeable scar left by the doctor's incision is present today. On my right forearm is a constant reminder of the power in man's sheer word. Those simple and apparently harmless phrases to Uma, spoken with deep concentration, had possessed sufficient hidden force to explode like bombs and to produce definite though injurious effects. I understood later that the explosive vibratory power in speech could be wisely directed to free one's life from difficulties and thus operate without scar or rebuke. Our family moved to Lahore in the Punjab. There I acquired a picture of the Divine Mother in the form of Goddess Kali. It sanctified a small informal shrine on the balcony of our home, and an equivocal conviction came over me that fulfillment would crown any of my prayers uttered in that sacred spot. Standing there with Uma, one day I watched two boys flying kites over the roof of the two buildings that were separated from our house by an extremely narrow lane. Why are you so quiet? Uma pushed me playfully. I am just thinking how wonderful it is that Divine Mother gives me whatever I ask. I suppose she would give you those two kites. My sister laughed derisively. Why not? I began silent prayers for their positions. Matches are played in India with kites whose strings are covered with glue and ground glass. Each player attempts to sever the string held by his opponent. A freed kite sails over the roof. There is a great fun in catching it. As Uma and I were on the roof recess balcony, it seemed impossible that a loosed kite could come into our hands. Its string would naturally dangle over the roof. The players across the lane began their match. One string was cut. Immediately, the kite floated in my direction. Owing to a sudden abandonment of the breeze, the kite remained stationary for a moment, during which its string became firmly entangled with a cactus plant on the top of the opposite house. A long, perfect loop was formed for my shearer. I handed the prize to Uma. It was just an extraordinary accident and not an answer to your prayers. If the other kite comes to you, then I shall believe. Sister Dark Eyes conveyed more amazement than her words. I continued my prayers with intensity. A forcible tug by the other players resulted in the abrupt loss of his kite. I headed towards me, dancing in the wind. My helpful assistant, the cactus plant, again secured the kite string in the necessary loop by which I could grasp it. I presented my second trophy to Uma. Indeed, Divine Mother listens to you. This is all too uncanny for me. Sister bolted away like a frightening fawn.